On August 8, 1944, close to Saintes, situated south of Caen in Normandy, France, the leather of his commander's gloves squeaked as Hauptmann Michael Wittmann grasped the cupola of Tiger 007, surveying the hedgerow-bordered skyline through his Zeiss binoculars. His hands shook, not out of terror, but from a realization that had been intensifying since sunrise. They keep arriving, dear God. They never ceased arriving. For 3 hours straight, his unit of 4 Tiger tanks had destroyed Sherman after Sherman. 27 blazing wrecks dotted the fields beside Confalls Road. Each Tiger had tallied no fewer than 6 kills. According to every lesson in tactical combat he had absorbed at the Panzertruppen-Schule, they were unquestionably victorious. The kill ratio was extraordinary, almost 7-to-1. Still, through his binoculars, Wittmann observed 48 additional Shermans moving forward from 3 separate directions, new units with crews yet to be tested, and full stocks of ammunition. Beyond them, trails of dust indicated that many more were inbound. Altogether, his 4 Tigers possessed at best 12 armor-piercing rounds remaining. There was no fuel left for large-scale movement, and no reinforcements would arrive. The logic of destruction was not being shaped by individual tank skirmishes, but by manufacturing numbers that made even the most brilliant tactics meaningless. What Wittmann was observing, what every German tank commander would see on all fronts, was not a simple engagement, but a show of numerical power that would bury the Wehrmacht under sheer volume. In just minutes, Michael Wittmann would be killed, his renowned Tiger eliminated by either a Sherman Firefly belonging to the 1st Northampton Yeomanry or by Canadian troops. Historians continue to dispute which one was responsible, yet his last radio report, recorded at 1,247 hours, would express the hopelessness felt by every German tank crew confronting American output. Munition gone, gunner useless, ammunition exhausted, foe unending. The tale of the German tank advantage commenced on May 26, 1941 at the Berghof, which was Hitler's Alpine hideaway. Both Ferdinand Porsche and Henschel & Son unveiled their prototype designs for the future Tiger tank. Enchanted by its imposing 88mm cannon and armor plating that the Allied tanks couldn't breach, Hitler at once commanded it to be put into production. To his gathered generals, Hitler proclaimed that this tank would equal an entire battalion of regular tanks. A single Tiger would obliterate a dozen opponent vehicles. The Führerbefehl, or Führer directive that ensued, would define Germany's crucial error. Superiority in quality would be chosen over numerical superiority. Every Tiger would be a marvel of craftsmanship, assembled by expert laborers, and deemed unbeatable in combat. Hitler reassured his staff that the Americans would never rival German mechanical supremacy, and, as propaganda minister Goebbels described, their tanks would be nothing more than Detroit-made tin cans mounted on treads. On August 4, 1942, the first Tiger emerged from the production lines at Henschel's Kassel plant. It required 300,000 work hours for completion. A total of 26,000 distinct components had been fitted by the employees. The transmission had been installed manually by master technicians. Armor plates were welded in place over several days by adept welders. The complex interleaved road wheel arrangement, itself an engineering wonder that distributed the tank's 57-ton mass, demanded exacting assembly, achievable only by highly practiced specialists. Oberst Wolfgang Tamala, observing the debut Tiger's tests at Kumdorf, recorded in his assessment, "This vehicle is the zenith of German mechanical design. No adversary will be able to withstand it. Provided we can turn out 100 monthly, victory in the war is assured." However, Germany never managed to build 100 Tigers in a single month. The highest number they accomplished, after 2 years spent improving production, was 104 in April 1944. Meanwhile, American manufacturers had reached an output of 2,000 Sherman tanks every month. The origin of American tank manufacturing did not start with official military strategy, but rather with a phone call. On May 28, 1940, William Cudson, who had previously served as the president of General Motors, was telephoned by President Roosevelt. "Bill," said the president, "I need you in Washington. Our nation must produce 50,000 airplanes and 50,000 tanks." Hudson's reply went on to shape America's entire production approach. "Mr. President, we can't manufacture the finest planes and tanks, but we are capable of making the greatest number of planes and tanks, and designing them so that an ordinary young person from Iowa could repair them using just a wrench and a screwdriver." It was from this ideology that the Sherman tank was developed. During a design conference at Aberdeen Proving Ground on August 31, 1940, Army Ordnance outlined specifications that shocked conventional military designers but received enthusiastic support from Detroit's factory specialists. Requirements included enough simplicity for unskilled laborers to produce, parts that were standardized and could be exchanged among all models, motors that would operate on several types of fuel, armor that could be joined by welding instead of requiring exact fitting, tracks that crews could swap out while in the field, as well as a turret ring sufficiently broad to accommodate improvements in later versions. Major General Gladian Barnes, the Chief of Army Ordnance, addressed the group of contractors. "I am not seeking a flawless tank. I want an adequate tank, one we can construct at a rate of 1,000 for each 100 assembled by the Germans. Ensure it is dependable, ensure it can be repaired, and turn them out in the tens of thousands." The divergence between German and American views on production was most apparent on the factory floors themselves. At the Henschel Castle factory, 9,000 highly skilled employees toiled to construct Tiger tanks. The shop floor resembled a medieval guild hall, but expanded to a large industrial scale. Experienced craftsmen oversaw younger trainees. Every single tank was practically crafted by hand. Upon finishing components, workers would inscribe their names, taking great pride in their workmanship. Untidier Franz Lehart, who was employed at the Castle facility before being conscripted, later stated, "We dedicated 3 days solely to assembling the final drive. Each gear was measured with a micrometer. Every weld underwent 3 separate inspections. Identification numbers were hand-painted. It certainly wasn't mass-produced. It was a true craft." In contrast, at the Chrysler Detroit Tank Arsenal, which started operations on September 15, 1941, things were completely different. Spanning 1.25 million square feet, the facility exceeded the combined size of all German tank factories. The employees included ex-automobile industry workers, women who had been homemakers, teenagers, and anyone capable of learning to use a rivet gun or wield a welding torch, rather than traditional master craftsmen. Rose Willow Monroe, who would later be known as Rosie the Riveter, contributed to Sherman tank production at this arsenal. She recounted her experience later. "Before I started working, I had never even seen a tank. After 2 days of instruction, we were assigned to the production line. Each task was broken down into simple actions. My job was welding a single seam, then the tank would advance, and another person would perform the next weld. In 4 hours, 1 tank was finished." The Detroit Tank Arsenal accomplished a feat that German technical experts believed unattainable. Tanks were produced on an assembly line. Chrysler's engineers, by applying car-building know-how, divided the Sherman into different modular sections. Individual subassemblies were manufactured simultaneously on separate lines, then brought together during the final build. Completing the journey from raw steel to fully finished tank required only 48 hours.